Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Leigh, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Leigh.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Exploring the Paranormal on this fabulous Tuesday morning. Hope you guys all had an amazing weekend. I know I relaxed a little bit, but my OCD kicked in and I was busy cleaning closets and reorganizing and just trying to get things in life organized and together. So I took advantage of not having much to do this weekend. So hopefully you guys, like I said, had a fantastic weekend and a great Tuesday morning that feels like Monday, and an even more fantastic week. I'm looking forward to today's guest. I have Mike Cardenas from Midnight Paranormal Society joining me again today. We are going to be, we're going to be covering, I know we had talked about some of the cases he had been on. He had been sharing evidence behind the scenes with me, and we've been chit-chatting back and forth, and I wanted to bring him on to get some updates, talk to him about his future plans, and I just a couple other things that I have questions for because he's just been absolutely doing amazing these past couple months. So it's going to be great to catch up with him. Also, I wanted to touch base real quick. I know last week I had mentioned, and I talked to a couple of you that have signed up for that life course coaching that I'm doing. I am still in the process of getting things together, but everybody who has submitted their stuff, I will be in contact soon on getting that started. It may be a week or two delayed just because things have been absolutely crazy. And but don't worry, we will be doing it. Sorry, I truly hope my voice lasts today. I'm not sure. I think it's, I don't know. I don't really have a cold, but it just I feel not stuffy. Oh, anyway. But yeah, so those of you who've signed up for that, I will be in contact hopefully this week. So just be patient with me. I kind of went down the rabbit hole with my book also this weekend, in addition to organizing the house and cleaning. So I kind of lost track of time, but have no fear. You guys are going to be contacted and included. Super looking forward to that. That is going to be a lot of fun. Those of you who haven't signed up for it, I'll have to check to make sure no one else signed up for it recently, but I had room for 6 people. I'm doing it completely free for the first 6 people. And we're going to be discussing everything from setting goals to cleansing your life, cleansing your world, spiritual connections, and some fun little arts and crafts that we can do to help get your mindset. And also it's relaxing. I do crafts all the time and I find it absolutely relaxing. So we will be doing a whole bunch of different things. And you'll also have access to me during those 6 weeks to ask questions and dive deep into kind of your life goals and your plans. So we'll definitely be doing that. Also, real quick, I am super excited. Not this week. Unfortunately, Joe is out of town, but starting next Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, or 9 p.m. Central, June 8th, Passport to the Paranormal will be starting. This is something that I'm super excited about. Joe, Frankie, and I have been working together for a while. We talk almost every day, except for, of course, he's been out of town this last week, and he's going out of town now for a case. So that's why we had to push our start date off. But this is going to be just, 45 minutes to, an hour-ish of us chit-chatting about our experiences, our cases that we're working on, what we have planned. Joe and I have several speaking engagements that we're working on right now together. Conferences, some different events that we're supposed to be appearing at together. And this is a time for you guys to ask us questions. We also will be bringing some special guests here and there. And I'm looking forward to the Joe wants to know these questions ahead of time, but let me know what you guys think. I'm not quite sure what I had planned for one show a month, or even at the end of the show. I want to kind of do a trivia where, I asked Joe 10 questions, he asked me 10 questions. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah, even if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment. I'd like to know. But we are going to, he wants to know the questions ahead of time. He wants to know the questions ahead of time so that way he can be prepared. And that takes the fun away from it. I want to throw different questions at him, just like I want him to throw questions at me, just to kind of see if we know the answers, or just kind of what our thoughts are on the different things. So hopefully, and also if you guys have any questions you want me to ask Joe, or you want Joe to ask me, feel free to send it to him. You can also I did set up a Facebook page, Passport to the Paranormal on Facebook. So you can find it there with updates. I'll put our different guests there. You could also, on the WLTK DB Talk Radio Facebook page, I will be sharing in the group, I'll be sharing different, things that we're doing, our guests and everything like that as it comes out. Still in the planning stages, so be patient with us. And all I can do is keep my fingers crossed and hope Joe shows up to the right link this time. And also just kind of catching up with what I have planned and what I'm doing. You have my books. My final proof is in my email right now for Haunted Florida Lighthouses. So I will be finishing reading that and sending it off to the publisher. Haunted Florida Ghost Towns, I am finishing up right now, and that will be going off to the publisher as well for the editing process in the next week or two. So you guys can expect that maybe hopefully later this year, if not early next year. So I'm super excited about that. Our next Ghost Education 101 will be on June 7th. And that is I have the wrong one, with Ron Stokes. He actually is a very great researcher. He has worked side by side with several exorcists and demonologists. And we are going to be discussing a whole bunch of different topics, including some projects that he's working on and some scientific experiments that he does. It's more or less, we're going to be kind of covering how to take a more scientific approach to the field and keep an eye on being able to identify if something is truly demonic or not, because he has a lot of experience in that as well. And he's a truly great guy. I'm so proud that I've worked with him in the past, and looking forward to having him on Ghost Education 101. And that'll be on June 7th. And just I'm scrolling through my notes. And of course, you guys, I have my courses at TMCC coming up. I think registration opens in July. I want to say June, but for some reason, July keeps sticking out. So this summer, registration will open. I'll be sharing that. We have the ABCs of the Paranormal on September 25th and Ghost Hunting 101 on October 9th. And both will be from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific. And that looks like everything I wanted to kind of cover up front. So if you guys are watching, please, as always, comment. Let me know you're here. Say hi. Definitely looking forward to what we have planned. I know next week we have the Connor sisters joining us. And actually, I can share with you some of the amazing guests that we have. I'm super excited. My OCD has kicked into high gear. And I have some amazing guests lined up for the show. And just kind of pulling it up. Sorry, my computer is running a little wonky today. Okay, so of course today we have Mike Cardenas joining us. Next week we have the Connor sisters. On June 13th we have Natalie Creeder. June 20th, I don't know why I have them still scheduled because we're doing our own show, but what the heck, I have Joe Frankie on. Then on June 27th, Kenneth Torres. July 4th, my producer, author Todd Bates will be joining us. July 11th, we have C.L. Thomas. July 18th, we have Jeff Slachter, and he is an amazing researcher and does a lot of video work and scientific work as well. So he's going to be a fun one to talk to. July 25th, Howard Petrie, and we're going to be talking about FearFest 2023 in New Orleans. Philomena Thomas will be joining us back for updates on the Hatman Project and other projects that she's working on. August 8th, Stephmina Bradley will be joining us. And then August 15th, this is one I wanted to talk about. That's right. If anyone is not a paranormal investigator but has had paranormal experiences, I know one of our followers, Lee Warner, had messaged me, and she's going to be on the show. I want to do a show of people who are not actively investigating the paranormal field but have had different experiences, and we're going to just kind of do a roundtable talking about all of our experiences, and that will be on August 15th. So if you have, please message me. I have room for 3 or 4 more and would love to have you guys join us. Okay. Hi, Desiree. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. Woman 2 times. Tell me, and just one of the kids' toys keeps. That could be something as simple as someone's trying to get your attention to let you know that they're there. If you are truly concerned, I do recommend trying to get in touch with a local paranormal group that you trust. It's kind of hard to determine what someone is actually trying to communicate without actually doing an investigation. But if you're hearing, voices, such a popular one is your name being called, electronics going off, kids' toys are great ones to go off. I would definitely reach out to a local team. If you need help reaching out to a team, message me and I can get you in contact with one. I know teams all across the country, and including some international teams that can help you. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, as long as you don't feel, my recommendation I always tell people is, as long as you don't feel threatened or scared because things are happening, chances are it's just family. 9 times out of 10, everything is okay to a point. The one things I do always recommend to people is to try not to encourage the spirits to continue communicating with you, because on the off chance that it's not family, you don't want to open that doorway. So I at least don't open the doorway in my own home. For example, I have it fully protected with crystals, sea salt. If paranormal activity happens in the home, I just kind of pretend it's not there. And it's one of those, it's just, I'm trying to think of how to, I usually refer to it as almost like some of these spirits are like little toddlers. They want your attention. They're like, hey, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. So they're going to set off toys. They're going to call your name. They're going to touch you. They're going to, pull on your hair, pull on your shirt. They're going to do things to get you to actually finally pay attention to them. But with most toddlers, if you kind of just let them, I don't want to say ignore your toddler, but you guys know what I mean. They'll kind of just, if they're not getting the attention they want, they're going to go off and bug someone else, I guess you would say. But if you give them the attention you want, then it's positive reinforcement. And then if it's not a family member or a good spirit, then that opens the doorway for them to take it to the next level. And then if you react to that, they're getting what they want, they take it, and they move it further, is essentially what they'll do. For me, happiness, I was told to tell you, if you are not my loved ones, you are not. Yes, exactly. And that's one thing you can do too, is, one thing that I've always said is, what was it? I haven't said it in so long, but it's like, you don't belong here. This is my home. Please go away. And I love that. If you're not my loved ones, you're not welcome here. And then just kind of leave it at that, and, majority of the times they do go away. Sometimes they won't, because, spirits like us have free will. They can do what they want. But it's, if you were talking to another human being, not to say that it happens all the time, but if you just tell them that you wish not to talk to them anymore, majority of the times they move on and talk to someone else. I know that sounds rude if you're talking to somebody, but you guys know what I mean. You always also want to be polite to the spirits. So, just say it politely, be calm, and don't act scared. The minute, even if you are scared, don't act scared. If they see there's any type of fear, they're going to, they're going to feed on that fear, especially if it's not a loved one or it is a negative entity. So stay calm at all times. If you don't feel like calling in a paranormal team, you could always, I know sage is just a temporary fix, but sometimes that temporary fix is just enough to get the spirits to move on to another location. Use whatever religious medallions you believe in, but make sure it's something that you wholeheartedly believe in, because if you just put up a cross and you're not really Catholic or Christian, that cross isn't going to do anything. So kind of do what fits your religious beliefs, and, just do whatever makes you feel comfortable that can protect you and your family. They never make any of us feel fear. It's all, yes. Sometimes my grandfather does that. He always comes when I need him. Whenever I'm sad, depressed, sick, and he always appears, and it's a very calming effect. I do agree with that. It is calm and very, I don't know. It's kind of nice knowing that he watches over me. So, but yeah, I completely understand and completely know that. But yeah, and thank you for watching and thank you for your comments. It's always nice to hear different experiences from other people. And if in the case you needed help, I always am here to help as as well. And now I'm getting the hiccups. So sorry, guys. But yes, definitely love that. Um, so yeah, so continuing on, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Share your stories like Desiree has. Love hearing different stories. Like I said, love helping, love pointing people in the right direction. And just it's always nice to know that people are here. And I know this is an early morning show, so chances are I think I get a majority of my audience in the evening and they watch the replay. So if you're watching the replay, please feel free to comment and share different stories as well. I do my best to keep an eye on the different comments and respond when I see them. You could also message me at any time. You guys know you can find me at Dr. Heather Leigh at Exploring the Paranormal Show. You can find my website, explorationparanormal.com or heatherleighphd.com. And those are all the different ways you can get a hold of me as well. And on my website, I do have a blog I post on every day that shares different things about paranormal activity, some haunted locations, a lot of the different protection devices that I use. Like, was it yesterday? Yesterday, I just posted a little, I have a roll-on, and I don't think I have one here, but I make a little roll-on. Say it's with sage spray, but it's a roll-on. You know, like how they have the perfumes that are roll-on. And it fits perfectly in my pocket when I go on investigations. And it's uplifting, cleansing, great little tool that I carry on every investigation with me. So that is, those are there as well. During the holiday times, especially at Halloween, you'll see a lot of fun crafts that I like to share. Last year I posted how to make ghost snot, witch's snot. At Christmas time, I share different potpourri, stovetop potpourri recipes. So it's kind of an all-around brain dump is what I've done. So if you guys want to know the inner workings of my brain, check out the blog because that's basically how my brain works. So interesting there. You can also find information on my team that is there, our bios, upcoming events, links to past events, and different things we've been on. And then there is a section on there for behind the scenes while we were filming Real Hunts Ghost Towns. So you can see that. And actually, real quick, speaking about behind the scenes, launching next month, which I know is only 2 days away, I've actually started a Patreon page to offer a little bit more insight into what I do. It's very interesting. There are levels, a whole bunch of different levels. So if you guys just want to support the shows that I do, we have what's called a paranormal onlooker. And this is, just $5 a month. You get to support the shows and be among the first to learn about the upcoming events, shows, and projects. I will be posting information on my Patreon page about upcoming events, upcoming guests, and stuff like that early, probably about a 1 or 2 week advance. And then the different levels include different things. There's a level that gives you actual behind the scene access, a weekly or a monthly live, a monthly Q&A with me. Another one includes shamanic life coaching that I'm doing. You'll get 2 30-minute private phone calls with me on that. And then I also have 2 sponsorship levels. One is to sponsor this show, Exploring the Paranormal. And then the next level is to sponsor both this show and Joe's and my show, Passport to the Paranormal. So there are a whole bunch of different levels on there. Great place to get information. A lot of things that I don't share on Facebook or YouTube. And also it's going to be a location where when I start sharing evidence, the evidence will go there first for about a week or 2. So you'll get early access to give your comments and stuff like that. And then I might even do it a month later. Then that evidence will go live, but you will have had exclusive first access to it, which is the whole point. Because I've had a lot of people reaching out to me wanting to know if there's different places that they can get just a little bit more, besides the shows and what they see on Facebook and everything like that. So I truly believe my Lord is a fireplace of seven. Okay. Yep. And then, hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited to have you here. And, but yeah, so stay tuned. A lot is happening. I know I'm in the process of working with a friend to, he wants to start doing different paranormal events and para retreats. I'm still working with Flumery Promotions. But then you guys, I also have my agent, Rick, with RK Entertainment is also working on a whole bunch of things for me as well behind the scenes. So lots and lots of things happening. Of course, you guys know I'm always writing books, and that's what the Patreon page will also be including. It'll be including excerpts from upcoming books. So you'll also get behind the scenes footage of my investigating the different locations for these books. And then I'm also thinking on maybe doing readings of the different books, chapter at a time, and kind of giving input and talking about what it was like investigating the location, and talk about different things in that aspect. So a whole bunch of things planned for that as well. And yeah, so I'm just trying to think of what else I have going on, because my brain's been going crazy. I know my friend the Sin City Witch, Marissa, she is still working on getting things organized on her end, with all the different. You think I'm busy, you should see this woman. She's absolutely amazing. So she's been doing a whole bunch of crazy things behind the scenes, getting her other stuff done, because she also operates iwitches.com and a few other websites. And once she gets everything back in order, we're hopefully going to be relaunching and being more active in the Witches Paranormal Society, which is a great concept. We want to train the next generation of witches on how to be paranormal investigators and how to use their gifts as an investigator and everything like that. Plus, we'll have a team of paranormal investigators from across the country that can go and help when needed, and a whole bunch of events. She hosts a whole bunch of events in Las Vegas, and we're hoping to expand that elsewhere. So yes, definitely one of those exciting adventures that I've been patiently waiting for. But her and I both have had a lot on our plate, and we're just trying to get a lot of it checked off our checklist and moved on. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I'm just kind of looking through my list of things just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Okay. And I did mention next week we do have Ron Stokes joining us on Ghost Education 101. I do have, we have a couple weeks of special guests, and then Ghost Education 101 will be going back to our standard where we do presentations and discussions. But we have Ron Stokes next week. And then on June 21st, we have special guest John Zaffis will be joining us. And then on July 5th, we have special guest Blake Best, who is an actor, author, and public speaker. So, and then from there, we'll be moving on to our presentations and panel discussions, such as Ouija boards, science and the paranormal, collecting evidence. Philip has a presentation that he's working on. And then we have the haunted librarian returning in October to discuss how to host a haunted house. Okay, I'm blowing you up over her. Bunny shadow. No, I haven't heard of that. The bunny shadow, or heard of like a bunny looking. No, I haven't. Yeah, I'll have to ask around and see if anyone's heard of that, because that's not something that I've heard of. That's interesting, Desiree. I'll definitely be looking into that a little bit more. And, don't worry about blowing up the conversation. I'm always, like I said, I'm here to answer questions. And I know when Mike gets here, he's more than happy to answer questions like that as well. And Lisa, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. But I also have 5 teens who see spirits. I've been told it's mostly poltergeist because all of them are feeding off each other. That's a tough one, Lisa, when it between poltergeist activity that's self-manifested from the teens or actual paranormal activity. And in using the Ouija board, I'm not sure if you guys opened it or closed it properly. That could have opened the door to something coming in as well. The best way to distinguish between the two is to, of course, call in a paranormal team, a reputable paranormal team to help you. And if you need help finding that, I can let you know. And then they can do they'll do the investigations with and without your daughters to see if they're the ones causing the activity. And then the other thing too is to just monitor what's happening in the home. Keep a journal. That's another thing that I recommend everybody is to keep a journal. When something happens, write down the date, time, what the experience was, who was home at the time. Of course, if you can think of it at the time, what the weather might have been like. If was it a full moon or not a full moon? And how you felt. Were you scared? Were you comforted? And then that can also help you figure it out. Because if you have a lot of paranormal activity happening and they're not home, it could be their residual energy lingering when they're not home, but it might not be. It would be more of a chance that it's not them causing the activity. But if they're always home and things are happening, then the more than likely it could be them. But the best way is to get an investigation going. And like I said, I can help you find a team to work on that as well if you want to. Yes, the timestamp on your camera phone is great too. Yes, she said it's a black shadow with bunny ears. It didn't scare her, but it's different. I know a few people who can help with that and figure it out, and we'll get that working on. So yeah, definitely. I'll look into that, Desiree, for you, and we'll definitely make note to find out more information on that. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about that black shadow with bunny ears. I'm still trying to figure out. It could. One thing I would look into first on that one, because the first thing that comes to mind is a stuffed animal. I mean, does she have any stuffed animals that might be sitting in front of nightlights? That could cast the shadow. I'm just trying to rule out natural occurrences. I would recommend going in her room first and having it as she would be, and put on any night lights or any lights that she would have on and just kind of scan the room. You could even use your phone, put it on video mode and just kind of scan around. Don't talk to anything, just take the video, because then you can rule out any stuffed animals that might have been in the way. And if you can't recreate it, I'm leaning towards, I don't know. It could be a spirit in the form that she would be comfortable in. But yeah, that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to reach out to a few people that I know. That's scary. Yeah, that's definitely what I would be leaning towards. And because that's what a lot of spirits, they don't want to. The spirits that aren't here to cause harm. And that's the hard part with determining between the two. You have the spirits that want to cause harm and the spirits that don't want to cause harm. Both try to first appear to us in a form that would make us comfortable. And I'm not saying that that's the case in your situation at all. I'm just, but more than likely it's someone not wanting to scare your child, and coming in the form of a bunny would make her comfortable. But I do know two people, one person who specializes in shadow people and shadow figures, and I'll reach out to him. And then I don't think it's connected, but you never know. I will reach out to, I had her on a couple weeks ago, Philomena, who's actually going to be on again in a couple months, and just see if it has any relation to the Hetman project at all, and see if there's any connection there. So I'll definitely be in contact with that and get some more information for you the best I can. But yeah, interesting stories. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing? Are you getting ready for your fortune cookie tarot readings that we're going to be having in a couple weeks? Jeff's going to be one of our guests in the future. Next time it will be good. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that, Desiree, and get back to you. I'll make note of it. But real quick, we are going to take a commercial break. We are waiting for Mike Cardenas to join us. He is the founder of Midnight Paranormal Society. I know I talked to him yesterday, so he will be here. He's just probably running a few minutes late. But you got new cards too. It's going to be a fun show. So anyway, real quick commercial break, and we will be right back. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. So, yeah, I'm actually sending a message to Mike, verifying. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be here soon. Just kind of, I'm going to send a message just to make sure that I know he knows the right times. And it's a lot of people. I guess I need to stop saying Eastern because I have a lot of guests who think that it's actually Central Time that the show is, but that's how the shows are usually posted on WLTK Facebook and website. So yeah, so I'll be hopefully hearing from him soon. If not, we are just going to have a fabulous show with me babbling until he does get on, but that's perfectly okay. I don't mind. So, but I do need help from you guys chatting it up in the comments, asking questions, talking about different things. I'm super excited. So, but Jeff, I know you had mentioned last time we had talked that you were thinking on coming down to Phantasm. I hope you are. I don't know if I'm going yet. I might have another commitment coming in through because they haven't reached out to me quite yet. But definitely want to see you guys if you guys come down to Florida. So let me know and I can make time to at least come and see you guys. And maybe we can take you out. Still possible, not sure, because maybe we could take you guys out for a paranormal investigation. Would love to absolutely do that, especially with a lot of the people in town. Joe, and then I know Bill will be there, and I have friends that run Kissimmee Paranormal Investigations, and haven't talked to them in forever. But I used to talk to them before I moved to Vegas and then back. So we'll definitely reach out to them and get into a location. If not, there is a amazing. I know this is I don't really want to say cliche, but typical of a paranormal investigation. But there's an amazing cemetery that is worth going in, at least exploring. So, or you could stick around long enough and we can all go down and see Robert the Doll together. I think that would be. I want to go watch Robert the Doll because I just want to see how Joe handles it, because I think Joe's going to be an interesting one seeing Robert the Doll. I don't think he'll play by the rules. So I'm kind of curious as to what happens. And for those of you who watched the show, I've had Joe Frankie on a couple times, or if you've watched Ghost Education 101, he's been on there as well several times, and he's a lot of fun, a great guy. Definitely looking forward to hosting Passport to the Paranormal. But yeah, he can be quite interesting. Joe will not follow rules and get that would be the first time anyone's seen Robert get out of his cage. I can see him crawling over the glass and coming down and smacking him. Oh yeah, we pick on Joe way too much, but he enjoys it. Yeah, quite humorous. Okay. Oh, good morning, Jamie Lynn. Thank you for joining us today. But yeah, Joe wasn't even on Ghost Education 101 last week, and we still picked on him. It was hysterical. We were analyzing orbs, And of course, Bill's wife commented that it looked like an anaconda in one of the orbs. And then, of course, then Joe, who was secretly watching the show, started commenting and having fun. But yeah, we were picking on poor Joe, and he wasn't even part of the conversation. So that was quite interesting. So if you guys missed last week's Ghost Education 101, we did it very respectively, but we did have some joking and some laughing and some fun. But we discussed the topic of orbs and what makes a true orb. We went through some evidence that I had pulled from different news stations and kind of analyzed it. And, yeah, we did do some joking around and having fun. But, we work in a serious field. We got to laugh and have fun at some point. And it was one of those things where we weren't making fun of anybody in particular. We were just kind of laughing at some of the different photos that were coming through because it's something that we see over and over and over. But all the photos, like I said, were from news stations and were obvious that they were not so much faked, but that they were obvious that there was natural causes. Of course, I'm always up for analyzing different orb videos, orb photos. I won't hide it from you. I'm not going to be rude, but I am going to let you know what I feel could be causing it, and share my information on how to prevent it from happening again if you want to. But other than that, we all had a good time. It was very towards the end. It was kind of slap happy. You'd have thought we'd all been drinking, but we hadn't been. So yeah, check out YouTube, Ghost Education on YouTube, and the replay is there. For some reason, I don't know why, but it was removed from Facebook. But it is still on our YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch that one, you should see Joe do that. Ask his own questions and answer. That's the whole point of the Estes. Oh, now I know what to do with him on our first public investigation that we do together. This is going to be fun. Definitely going to have some fun with this. Joe is going to be an interesting character. So yeah, definitely a whole bunch of things going on. And let me just, my phone's acting up. So yeah, while we're waiting for Mike, if there's any particular topic you guys want to talk about, just let me know. Okay. Yeah, Jamie, it was fun. I did have, of course, with anything, you have the people who came across and were not happy with some of the things we did. But originally the intention was people were to send in their orb photos and we were going to actually analyze them on the show. But knowing how the show could have gone, I still have all those videos and photos that I've been analyzing on my own. I just decided to pull photos that were off of Amazon, just to not offend or upset anyone. So those of you who did send in videos and photos, be patient. I'm still working on analyzing them. And I also have some members who were guests who are privately analyzing them. So that way we can give you our opinions as well. And I do have one that is kind of, it might be an orb, but I've never seen a true orb actually caught on video. So I still need to work on that one a little bit more. But yeah, it was a fun show. It was a great group of guys with me. I had Bill Slevin. He has over 35 years experience. And then we had Larry Lawson, who was a former, he's a retired sheriff's deputy and did a lot of murder investigations. So he takes everything scientifically and forensically when he does his research and analyzing. Then we had David Taylor, who has years of experience and hosts Our Haunted Lives. He's been on the show twice. As you guys know, David he's a hoot. He can turn any topic into a fun, entertaining, and exciting topic. So he joined us. And then we had Nick Carboni, who was a new to Ghost Education 101. And actually, I did an interview with him and Sean last night for their show. And he turned out to be an amazing guest. Looking forward to having him back on the show as well. And yeah, David, I love David. He even if I have no show plans, he turns interviews around and starts asking me questions. So definitely love having him. I have one that convinces the spirit. Oh yeah, that is, if you have other evidence to coincide with it, it's perfect. But yeah, it's a tough call. Orbs is a tough tough subject, touchy subject. And not that all paranormal TV is bad. I blame it on paranormal TV because, they show photos. Oh, here's this orb that shoots into, such and such investigator, and he started acting weird. And then the orb shoots out and he acts normal. Could it have been, without being able to analyze the actual footage? But from just seeing it, to me, it always looks like dust. But I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't experience it. And of course, we know paranormal TV shows, and including the documentaries that we were in, are all for entertainment. So they have to have some type of entertainment value to keep everyone watching and listening in. So, but that's why I love doing these radio shows. That's why I continue doing Ghost Education 101 with Philip. Definitely enjoy everything because we can not only have fun, be entertaining. We're here for you guys. If you guys want to know answers, I'm not saying that what we say or what we do is the correct way to do it. I just know that we take the time to research. We don't share information without researching it. We don't share photos unless we've thoroughly investigated the photo and have exhausted all avenues as to whether it's paranormal or not. And we're just not here to share everything. We want to make sure that correct, in our minds, in our opinions, correct information gets out. And, you guys can do it how you want to do it, but we want to make sure that you're armed with all the information that you need to investigate this field, to not be afraid, to get the help you need, to help others that need help, and so on. And thank you, Jamie Lynn. But yeah, it's a long road, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to. Oh, hold on a second. Mike just got back to me. He's like, it's today at what time? Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm not sure if he's going to be making it or not. I'm thinking he either got the times mixed up or he doesn't realize it's Tuesday, which I know a lot of people. I woke up this morning thinking, oh crap, it's just, I hate holiday weekends just for that purpose, or long weekends, because you don't realize what day it is for like a week or two because you're completely thrown off. But yeah, it's however long weekends. I mean, I know Memorial Day was to honor those that had served and passed. And for those of you who have served and are still here, thank you for your service. And if you've lost loved ones, I'm so sorry. But yeah, the extended weekends are, I guess you would say, a ghost hunter's dream because it gives you an extra day to investigate. But I know a lot of people, and we ended up staying home and organizing, but I know a lot of people who did investigations based around military. They did military fundraisers, a whole bunch of different things, which was absolutely amazing to see the different things happening in the world. And hi, Philip, how are you doing? Our orbs demons. I haven't had any evidence of that. But all joking aside, no, I haven't had any evidence of that, but you never know what orbs are. And thanks to you, I always make sure I carry my pledge with me. And, but they can still appear, and who knows, maybe they come in demonic form as their way of joining us to kind of hide their presence. So, but yeah, I'm super excited to know that Mike is now backstage. So this is going to be, sorry, I have to leave. I'll watch the rest of it. Okay. Thank you, Jamie Lynn. Definitely, I'll have the links up, and you can always watch it on the replays as well, or on my podcast channel. You can listen to it. So looking forward to you listening to it. So, but now that Mike is here, I am super excited to welcome Mike Cardenas to the show.
Hey.
Mike.
Hey, I'm so sorry. You messaged me, and I don't know why. I thought I was into like a little bit later, and I was like trying to get home as fast as I could. And so forgive me, I'm driving, but I'm getting home right now.
Oh no, that's fine. I kind of figured you either, because a lot of people I have on, I say Eastern, but they think it's Central.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of figured either you messed up the time or you forgot today was Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday.
Right. No, no. I remember Tuesday, but I get the time difference. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, that's okay. Happens all the time. That's why I messaged you real quick.
Yeah, I was like, oh snap. I was like, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us today. Super excited to have you back to do a few discussions.
Oh
I
yeah.
know last time we chatted that you were working on some different projects.
Right.
Is there any news or anything new happening?
You know, nothing right now. I mean, we've been doing a lot of traveling actually lately, and checking out some really cool locations. And recently, we went to Oklahoma to go investigate an asylum, Broken Bow Asylum.
Mhm.
For those who don't know, there's a person named Ashley Storm, and she has an asylum out there. And we went to I finally got to go meet. Well, I didn't get to meet her when we went, but got to investigate. And that place, let me tell you, it did not like let me down. What was really interesting was we showed up. We arrived around 5 p.m. and we were getting a tour of the place, and I kind of broke off by myself to go walk on the opposite side of the building alone. And as I was by myself, because everybody was talking, kind of getting familiar with the place, I pulled my phone out. I started doing an EVP session to see if maybe something will come through. I wanted to introduce myself to whatever was there. And all of a sudden, I hear the sound of a woman screaming my name, right? And I turn to look, and it's one of the ladies, like, just wanting to know where I was at, see if I was okay. When I waved my hand that I was okay, she went on her way. I turned back and I started asking more questions. I hit stop on the recorder. Right when I hit stop on my phone recorder, I hear a male voice whisper into my ear my name. Or not male, I just a voice in general, right? It whispered my name. And I was like, what the hell? And I turned to my right. It's in the same direction the woman was yelling. And I see one of the other ladies walking towards me. And as she's walking towards me, I the distance of where she was at, I mean, there's no way if she whispered, there's no way it's gonna travel that far to me. But I still asked, I'm like, hey, did you whisper my name? And when she spoke, of course, her voice sounded different from the voice that I heard. So this disembodied voice, man, it was really cool to hear it right in my name get called, and there was nobody there. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, those things always happen the minute you turn your recorders off.
Right, right. Yeah, they definitely know.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he turned it off. Now start talking.
Right.
Spirits are funny in that aspect. But yeah, earlier we had a question that I thought was perfect for you just because of how you got your start in the paranormal. But let me
Right.
see if I can scroll up and find it again. Okay, she said that they had used a Ouija board at their house, but they also have
Right.
5 teams who see spirits. She's been told it's mostly poltergeist activity because of all of the teenagers feeding off of each other. But how does one truly distinguish the difference between actual activity and poltergeist activity if it continues?
Interesting. That's always and let me ask you because I know everybody has their different definition of what a poltergeist haunting is. What is your real quick so we can be in the same page or not the same page, but
Right.
understanding what is your definition of a poltergeist activity or a haunting?
Right. Well, of course, you had the traditional aspect of noisy ghosts, and it's just a ghost that likes to create, havoc. But as more research has come out, I truly do feel that it is internal,
Right.
that it's us psychokinetic energy being expelled from us, causing the activity.
Right. So okay, we're on the same page
Yep.
as far as that goes. That's what I believe. I believe that, it's a person who's kind of manifesting their own kind of like, if you will, mock haunting because they're projecting the energy into the atmosphere, and either something's feeding off that energy that's nearby, or it's a possibility that it appears to be a haunting, but it's just the fact that, they're causing themselves. So that's always a tricky thing, But yeah, anytime you mess with that Ouija board, I mean, I know people are kind of like the way orbs are, right? People believe this and people believe that. I feel that with the Ouija board, some people say, well, no, it's just a tool like anything else. And then some people believe that, it unlocks things that are truly, something we don't really understand and what
Mhm.
we're communicating with. But that's really interesting, though.
Yeah, I told her to keep a diary of when activity happens
Right.
and to notate who's home.
Right.
Because
No,
if
see
it
who.
continues and they're not home, then it could be regular activity.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I think that in this case, if the person who's asking the question is the one experiencing it, number one, who all lives in the household? When does it happen normally? If the person who's experiencing it, when they leave, if there's other people in the house, do they ever say, "Hey, you know what? Uh, does the activity continue after they remove themselves from the equation,
Hmm.
or does it stop?" Those
Right.
are all things to kind of consider, because if, let's say, the person who's asking the question is the one experiencing it and they leave, then again, maybe not that they're the problem, but maybe it's something it's a contributing factor, something they're doing, or even if they're not doing it on purpose, but maybe it's could be caused by that person.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. This paranormal field, we just don't have any, I don't want to say we don't have
Right.
any answers, but the more answers we get, the more questions we end up having.
Right. Right. Right.
So, and you had mentioned the Ouija board and the different aspects of different people have different opinions. I come from the aspect of that. I truly believe it's no different than any other tool that we use, but I also do believe that any tool we use can open up a doorway.
Oh yes, I
So,
agree. I,
yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I have people like, oh, it's not like a digital voice recorder or an EVP. And I'm like, well, you're still asking questions. You're just
Right.
using, even if you didn't have anything running, if you just start
Right.
asking questions, you're opening yourself up to anything.
For sure. And this is what I tell people. I'm like, Ouija board has this thing around it. And I understand. It's been around for a long time. And as the years go by, things become more modernized, and there's just different things that you can use to communicate. But whether you're using a Ouija board, whether you're using a digital voice recorder, ghost box, the moment that you open yourself up and start inviting things, it's the same thing as the Ouija board, but the only difference is just the tool you're using. And one thing I tell people is, whether you're doing using a recorder, a ghost box, no matter what you're using, the moment that you open up that doorway of communication, even when I do that, when it's not a Ouija board, I don't use Ouija boards, but whenever I use any device I use that's going to communicate, I always make sure to close that door of communication after that session's over, because if you just leave it open, it's the same thing with a Ouija board. You're inviting things, and you always have to kind of put and I understand we don't truly know the other side, but I still try to put rules up, like, hey, I'm here to communicate with you. These are my intentions, and intention has a lot to do with it too.
Mhm.
What is your intention? Are you here to simply communicate and see how you can, what's there, how you can help it, or do you have good intention? Do you have bad intention? Intention has a lot to play, but if you don't, some of that, just kind of let the spirits know, like, hey, listen, and whether they listen or not, I just say, hey, look, my name is Mike. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm trying to communicate with you. Please, you have no permission to touch me or harm me or those around me. All we want to do is see how we can help you. And I'm not saying that they listen or it works all the time, but it's just nice to kind of set those rules and boundaries.
Yeah. And as long as they feel respected, you're going to have the ones that respect
Right,
others, follow
right,
your rules, but you always have that one that just doesn't care.
right. Yeah, no, no, yes, that's 100% true. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how people have totally different aspects of this field. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's something we need to, all sides need to be researched a little bit more, because we're never going to get answers if we can't share each other's research or research each ideas more.
Right.
Or,
And I know Philip asked earlier, are orbs demons, right? I'm
mhm.
looking at the comments as you were
Oh,
talking.
yeah, that
And
that might have been a joke because we did an orb show the other day,
right,
but
no, 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 I know, but the reason
okay.
why I want, and I heard you talking about that, and I know he didn't mean it in that literal sense, but what it's funny because again, orbs to me is like almost like equivalent to when people talk about politics, right? If you agree with one side or the other, people kind of like, you either gain a friendship or you lose a friendship, right?
Right.
But with orbs, it's so crazy because like I said, there was a time, and not to bash anybody, but there was a time where this woman was like, she tells me, "Hey, I have proof of pixies, or like fairies and something." Like, really? I was like, if you have proof of that, I would love to see it. Because sometimes people come with the most, I mean, mind-boggling things, but I'm like, hey, I'm open to it. If you have proof and you can show me, I'm open to it. And when she showed me just orbs on the photo and how there was different colors, and I kind of said, well, how did you come to the conclusion that it was a fairy? Why not, it just being an orbit, could possibly be dust to this. And she blocked me on Facebook. So to me, it was like, whenever that discussion comes up, it's crazy how fast you either gain a friendship or lose a friendship so quickly.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems with this the field is, like I was saying, we shouldn't be tearing each other down. If someone has a different idea and it's not your idea, help them research that idea more and
Right,
either prove it or disprove it. The same thing with your own ideas. We all have different
right.
ideas, and we're, this. I personally feel this field is never going to advance if we keep belittling each
Oh
other.
man, yeah.
It's I don't it's I don't think I wake up in a morning and not have some type of paradrama
Right, right.
on my news feed.
And also too, I think like one thing that I like to do, right, is no matter if, like, let's say you and I were investigating at a location and you and I firsthand witnessed, let's just say, a chair levitating and getting thrown across the room, and we witnessed it with our own eyes. There was no strings. It was like, you know, things that you wish you can see, and it happened in front of us, and we happen to have a camera rolling. And let's say you get that piece of evidence and you put it onto the internet, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. You're always
Mhm.
going to have someone who's going to talk. You're always going to have somebody who's going to say, "Oh my God, that's real," or "No, it's fake," and there's strings. And so you're always going to have that. And the thing is, as a paranormal investigator like me myself, whenever I post evidence, the one thing I always say is, it's up to you to decide if it's real or not. I mean, I know what I believe, but
Right.
it's up to you as a viewer. If you want to say it's fake, call it fake. If you want to say it's
Mhm.
real, call it real. But I think we as paranormal investigators, there's a lot of people who, you post things and you have to understand that you're going to have some kind of criticism. You're going to have something that's going to be said, and you can't take it personal. And again, people are going to talk. But for me, I feel that in this field, in order for us to grow, and I know you mentioned this before about sharing evidence and, this documentation stuff, but I feel that there's a lot of people who I don't know if it's the fact that they don't want to share. I feel like maybe sometimes some people feel that they're gonna be criticized or like I said, be talked down to because they're like, oh well, how'd you come to this conclusion? How did you do this? And they're gonna feel like, well, damn, I'm getting so many questions, and I feel like sometimes people they shy away from that. You know what I mean?
Right. And I'll be the first to admit, I mean, I don't share my evidence publicly, and I
Right,
should.
right,
I do share it with other groups that I work with, but I'm always afraid of dealing with the naysayers. And
right.
it's one thing I personally need to get over with. I know I've had David Taylor on the show many times, and I love what he says. He's like, I post and ghost. I don't look at the comments.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like that. Like, I mean, on TikTok, I have viral videos of just, different things that I put on there. And, for me, I've learned very quickly that people, like I said, would talk not because they have anything to stand on. It's just they just want to talk. And to
Mhm.
me, I just learned that if I were to sit there and try to justify myself or, explain, no matter what I say, people are gonna want to believe what they want to believe or they're not. And so at the end of the day, it's just we as investigators, what is it that we're trying to achieve as far as, sharing evidence? To me, it's like one of my goals, and I can only speak for myself, is I would help love to eliminate the fear aspect
Mhm.
because it's the unknown. People don't understand how it works, why it happens, why certain people get affected and others don't. And so if there was a way somehow to eliminate fear, I think more people would be more open to it, I think, in my opinion. And so
Yep.
for me, whenever I share a piece of evidence, the goal is to reach as many people as possible, but also shed light into what we do because realistically, how many people do you know are going to be at 3 in the morning, away from their families, away from their kids, away from work, and these creepy, some are very beautiful. Bonus is beautiful or not, but you're in these places, deep, dark, sometimes really crazy, creepy, smelling looking places. And while everyone else, the whole world's asleep, you know what I mean? So how many people are really going to do this? So for us, I think it takes a special person to do this, to go into
Mhm.
these places, beautiful or not, and to be there and being in the dark sometimes. And yeah, sometimes you do in the daytime, but being in places that no one's going to want to go and to retrieve, I don't care if it's a voice, I don't care if it's a picture, if it's a video or what it is, it takes a special person to do what we do. And, I feel that for me, again, the hope is to eliminate fear because I feel like a lot of people I ask that question to, what fears do you have of the paranormal? And a lot say not being able to control it, and the unknown, not knowing why it works or how some people get affected. But sorry, I kind of rambled off
Oh,
there for a
no,
second.
that's okay. I was going to say my fear with the paranormal is turning around and having someone standing there that shouldn't be standing there. It's not so much the fear of what's there; it's the startle factor.
Right, right, right. No, man, I think if I was in a location, I think for me, no matter if we're at a location, I think the thing that would freak me out is if I turn and I saw like a child spirit, like just even though they're not creepy or anything, but just to know that something's there, I'd probably run the other way. You just make sure there's a camera on me so you can capture for footage. But yeah, man, that's creepy.
Yeah, and that's you had mentioned that we put ourselves in places that most people wouldn't, and that just got me thinking back to the time that we went into some old mines.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you never know how secure these things are anymore. I mean, they're
Oh
built in the
man.
20s and
Oh man. Yes, 100%. And I've had moments where I'm in places where they're like, there's a possibility there's asbestos here. Wear a mask, and or you're gonna come to this place and like you said, it's unstable. It can collapse at any moment, and you're like, am I about to become a spirit here in this place, haunting the damn place? You know what I mean? Like, it's like so. When I'm in these locations, like some are, I mean, beautiful, and some of them are like, ooh, like questionable. But you're there trying to capture evidence, and you're like, holy cow, like, well, what saying you, and not that you're questioning doing it. It's just, what the hell am I doing in this place? Sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's like to me, it makes it worthwhile when you are able to capture some sort of piece of evidence to kind of uh, you know, tell people like, hey man, these are the claims. I went in there and I had an experience, and here's the documentation to prove it. Like I think it's a really amazing kind of takeaway from it.
yeah. And it's funny too how we put our fears aside, our own fears,
Oh
because
yeah.
like crawling into these mines, they warned us, claustrophobic, totally
Oh,
claustrophobic, and spiders. And I can't
oh
stand
yeah.
spiders, but those were like the last two things I was thinking about while we were crawling around and investigating.
Right. And talking about claustrophobic, recently we went to Corpus Christi, Texas. We were investigating the USS Lexington, aka the Blue Ghost. We were there investigating the carrier ship, and I've been there once before. And for those who've never been on a naval ship of that size, there's such tight, small areas, and you learn very quickly if you're claustrophobic or not. And when I was in the place, there was a point where they took us to some gym that the people would use to work out. And I'm sitting there, and all I kept thinking was, dude, if something happens to me right now, how are they gonna drag me out of here? My anxiety got so bad, and that's because it was an open space. But I was, because we're so many levels down, I started panicking. And I was like, I go, can I go back upstairs and get some water? They're like, oh, there's a water fountain right there. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, can I use the restroom upstairs? They're like, oh, there's one right here on the same floor. I'm like, can I just go upstairs, please? And they're like, okay, let's go, let's go back up. But you don't know until you're in those moments.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it truly takes a special type of person to do this work and to truly do it,
Hmm.
the way it should be done. Of
Right.
course, there's the paranormal tourists and hobbyists, and that's all fine and dandy because we still rely on them to a point because they're the ones who send us photos that we can't normally get.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. There,
So
there is.
yeah, but yeah, very, very, very interesting field. So outside of your recent investigation at the asylum, have you had any other unique experiences?
Like I said, we just been really investigating, just doing the podcast, and actually, I want to say, what are we today? Tuesday. On Sunday, we had a gentleman who I'm friends with, and he works with iHeartRadio, and he came out. He was telling me, he was like, "Hey, man, it's one thing we do a podcast and talk about the paranormal, or he doesn't normally talk about the paranormal, but whenever he talks to me, of course, it's paranormal. He's like, it's one thing to talk about experiences, he goes, but it's another thing to actually take the show and go to these haunted locations. He's like, do you have a spot that we can go to? I said, actually, I have a case that I'm currently working on. A client, she has a rental property, and we've been investigating. We've gotten some really great evidence from this place. I said, would you be interested in coming there? I said, but there's no power. I was like, I don't know if you have any like portable stuff, what you can bring it. So she turned the power back on for the moment, and we were there, and of course it was humid and hot. and we were just sweating bullets. And while we were in there, we all heard movement in the house,
Mhm.
and it's an empty house. It's gutted out. Like if you see this house, it's like if someone ripped all the sheetrock off. I mean, it's literally gutted where they're renovating it, but they cannot renovate it because every time they try to renovate it, things start happening. People get sick. Yeah, the tools go missing. Just it's always something. And so the whole time, this guy, he's really scared of the paranormal. And so we would hear sounds, and he's like, oh, "Did y'all hear? Did y'all hear that?" And I'm like, "It's okay, man. Relax. Like, it's gonna be okay." And then we had paused for a second, see, because I guess his camera every 25 minutes he had to like restart it or record. And so there was a moment he gets up and he has his like his point of view camera. And he's kind of like showing his viewers a real quick snippet of what we're at and what we're doing. Well, in that snippet, he actually captured a male voice talking to him, which is so really cool. So, after I pointed out and he heard it, he was like, "Man, Mike," he's like, "I'll probably never go back to that place again," because we wanted to do a part two. And he's like, "I don't know if I can go back there again, man. It's just too much, man." I was like, "It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad."
And that's always the funny part, because you think about it, all these TV shows and the different documentaries and shows that I've filmed, I've always been lucky enough to have a film crew following us that were
Right,
paranormal investigators. So
right.
they knew what to expect. They, didn't get scared or anything like that. But I couldn't imagine having someone who was afraid of the paranormal actually doing the filming.
Listen, it's hilarious. One time, at the time, we were gonna have this publishing company. They were gonna do a book for us on MPS, and at the time, when it was first happening, I remember the publisher. We were talking to him, the gentleman who run the company, and I said, "Listen, man, I go, look, I can sit here all day and we can talk about our experiences and we can tell you till your ears fall off, like everything we've experienced." I go, "How about this? When the book's being written, I was like, let's invite you to an investigation. That way, you firsthand, either you're gonna have an experience or you're not, but at least you'll be in the field with us side by side. And that way, when you're writing this book and we're sharing, and you're writing down, you're sharing our experiences, you can say that you were there to witness certain things. That way, it's more of like you can relate because you were there with us." And he was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." We go to a case. He got so scared that he ran out of the place we're at. And then this is where things take a turn. He was so shook. I mean, he was like he was like, "I'm done." Like he was shaking hard. I can't do this. And like he gets into his truck, he puts his GPS to go to his house. He follows the GPS, and the GPS takes him to some random cemetery as a destination. And he's calling me, I mean, screaming, "Mike, I put my address and they took me to some cemetery." I was like, "Calm down, man." And he just lost his mind. So it's just crazy. People who don't do this try to do this, and then they just, I mean, it breaks them, man.
Yeah. And it's sad because we're, like you said, we're here trying to dispel the fear.
Right.
And I know there was a location in Vegas that invited our team in, and we did a investigation at night with their employees
Okay.
to try to help them not be so afraid, because this was one of the most haunted locations on the Vegas Strip.
Oh,
And
wow.
they wanted their employees not to be afraid. Well, when we came back to reveal the evidence that we captured and to answer any questions we had 5 people walk out
Oh,
when we were
wow.
showing them evidence of what was happening, and we found out that they ended up quitting.
Oh, wow.
And here we're trying to tell them it's nothing to be afraid of, don't worry about it. But
And they were
yeah,
like, "Bye."
yeah, they were gone and done.
That's interesting. That's and I think I don't know if I shared this experience with you once before, but I'm gonna share it now for those who are
Mhm.
watching. So when I first started back in 2008, I remember at the time. I mean, I didn't know how to. I was like, "How do I create a team?" I mean, I was kind of like very new. I didn't know what to do, but I was like, I want to have a team. I want to do this, this, and this." Well, I started placing ads on Craigslist, and I was telling people like, "Hey, I'm starting a paranormal group. If you're looking to be a part of it or you want to experience stuff, I'm gonna be doing this, this, and this." And some guy, he responded to one of my ads. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not afraid of nothing, and whatever, whatever, and I would love to go on one of your adventures, and let's, let me know, and I'll be there." And so, my mom had told me about this rental property that she had rented one time, and that how haunted it was. And so she's like, If you go back to this property, there's two houses on the property, and they're both being rented by different people. Maybe you can talk to them and see if they'll let you investigate. So I showed up to the location at the time, and the one in question, I noticed was completely boarded up, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, and prior to that, my mom, I mean, she was staying there maybe like 2 months before this happened, so it was very recent. So I show up and I see boards all over the windows, and I'm like, in the door, and I'm like, what the heck, that's weird. So I go to the house and I see there's people there, and I said, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you guys. My mom was staying at this house, she was renting it, and she was experiencing some paranormal stuff. We're a paranormal team, we want to see who we can speak to about getting permission to investigate. And then she went on to tell us that it is indeed very haunted, and that several times police were called to the house. Just like they'll get calls from the house saying that there was something going down in the house, and police will show up, and of course it was nobody was there. And so the I guess at the time, the latest or the recent experience was the cops got called out by the people I was talking to, because one morning they woke up like around 4 or 5 in the morning, and they said they smelled the most rancid, most just horrible smell that came in from outside. They're like, what the hell is that smell? So one of the things, because the owner, every time he would rent it, people would leave because of how haunted it was. So he said, you know what, I'm done trying to rent it. And homeless people would break in, or drug addicts would break into the house and stay there. Well, because of how bad the smell was, they thought that maybe someone on drugs or whatever, somebody died in the house. So the cops showed up. They went to the house. There was no sign of anybody. They looked under the house. They looked and they looked, and the cop was vomiting. And another guy goes, you know what? Don't let nobody go into the house. There's something evil in that house. That smell. There's no reason why that smell can come from the house. If it's, there's something good there. Keep it boarded up. And so fast forward, to that moment, and I said, well, can I investigate? She goes, you can go in there, sure. So with the thing is, we had to go in through the window. This gentleman who joined us, who said he wasn't afraid of nothing, I'm about 6 foot tall. This guy had to been like 6'7". He was a real tall Hispanic guy. And it was another gentleman with me. And we get into the window, and I was much heavier then. So I'm like struggling to get into the window. And I finally get into the window, and we're in there. And we started investigating. Well, as I'm investigating, we kind of separate from each other. And one of the things that we found out was there was a room. The lady said that one of the renters who lived there, their son was a devil worshiper. And so they go, if you, and they had a really high ceilings. They go, if you walk into one of the rooms, it's painted black and red. The whole house is white, but that room is black and red, and there's these weird symbols everywhere. They go, we think it has to do with this kid who was a devil worshiper. So I go into the room. Sure enough, it's black trim with red walls and weird symbols I had never seen before, and I didn't understand what it was. I was recording video of it, and the guy who was with me, who came with us, he goes, I'm gonna kind of walk up by myself. So he goes, walks off. I go to the living room, and I'm standing there doing the EVP session, and all of a sudden I hear heavy like footsteps. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I turn this to my left to look, and there's a clear shot all the way to the kitchen. He's running full speed towards me, and he's like, he's running as fast as he can. He looks like his face is pale. He was kind of like a medium complexion, a little bit darker looking person, and his face was completely pale. And he's running full speed towards me. And I said, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he turns and he dives through the window. Like he just, and I've never seen anybody in real life dive. And luckily the window was open, but he dove through the window and he cleared it and he landed outside the window, and like he hit the floor, and he was laying there and he was kind of like confused. I said, "What did you see, man?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Relax, take a deep breath, calm down." And he's like, and then he finally stops and he goes, and he just looks at me. He jumps up and he jumps the fence and he runs into the neighborhood. And I never saw him again to this day. And I'm just like, what did he see? We got out of there, but it's like, this is truly not meant for everybody. Again, this is why I say it takes a special person to do this, because, people don't realize what we, I guess, expose ourselves to. There's things that we truly don't understand, and we're trying to better understand. And the only way we can understand is by putting ourselves out there, collecting data, collecting evidence, to somehow maybe one day, hopefully, open up this door more and, finally figure out how everything works,
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I always say that nothing's better than the moment a skeptic turns into a believer. But I think that's a better moment is when someone who says they're not afraid
Man,
realizes they're
he got
afraid.
humbled real quick. He got humbled really fast.
That's actually kind of funny. That's something you need to write down for your book.
Right. Yeah. No. I always think about that, and I'm like, I wish, now that we become more known in San Antonio, I'm like, I wish that this guy would like somehow one day come back and be like, hey, Mike, after all these years, this is what I saw, But it's to me, I've got to a point, and I even hate to say it this way, but I feel like I've become numb to this stuff. Like, when I go to places, I've been to so many places, jails, hospital. I mean, you name it, I've been there. And I see when people react and they're like, oh, and they're trying to like, run, or they're just, like the Scooby Doo movie show where they're running in place. Like, and I'm standing there and I'm just like, kind of like, okay, and not that I'm not afraid. 'Cause I mean, we all we get spooked or we get caught off guard, but it's almost like I've become numb to it. Like, it doesn't freak me out like it used to. Because I guess for me, again, I'm not Superman. I'm not this fearless person, but to me, it's like, why are you gonna freak out if you're trying to better understand something? You have to somehow put that fear aside, or just say, look, Mike, listen, things are gonna happen. You may get spooked, but don't run away or don't freak out. Don't let your fear overcome you being there, because how are we supposed to understand this if you're just gonna run away every time, So it's like almost I almost say, I just became numb to it, or I just, not that I ignore it, but when these things happen, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to laugh when sometimes I see people freak out, but I don't laugh because I know it's a sensitive thing, and I don't want them to feel like I'm like bashing them or anything. But in those moments, and I see them like take off, I'm like, really? And I just continue to do my thing. But it's crazy to know that I've reached that point where it doesn't freak me out anymore.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny because all of us, I think, have gotten there. I know there was one time, it was the only time I was ever really scared. And it was an Ovilus session. And I didn't even believe the Ovilus worked. I figured it was just a bank that, randomly, but when you get Death, Devil, Demon, and Sacrifice all back to back, and then when you say, who are you going to sacrifice? And it comes back, you. Just as something touches my back, I like looked around and nobody was with me.
Holy
I
cow.
was so involved asking questions, not paying attention. I like kind of sped walk back to the rest of the
Yeah. Oh, it's too funny.
But yeah, that's, other than that, we become, and you think about it, you got to compare it to like other sciences. I mean, Alexander Graham Bell didn't freak out and run away when the phone first rang.
Right. Can you imagine? That's, no, for sure. I agree.
Or I'm trying to think of Franklin didn't run away when when lightning struck.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's like, in order to get that education, or because in order for you to understand, you have to put yourself in there, and because when I first started, I was the biggest chicken on the planet. Like, I would go to places and not that, I mean, I would go places and I would get so spooked. I'll be like, oh, and I want to get out of there, and I said, man, Mike, how are you going to do this in front of people when they need your help? Or you have to, we all have a higher power maybe that we may believe in, or pray to, or don't pray to, or whatever it is you believe in, but you believe in something. And so, I believe in God, and I believe that God watches over us. So to me, I'm like, well, if God's the Almighty and He protects us, what is there to fear? And so then, having that understanding too, and so now when I go to a location, I'm more afraid of the people I'm going to be around living than the actual deceased. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is, I mean, at this field, I tell people it's okay to get scared. Just if you're helping a client, hide that fear from the client.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let, discuss it as a team afterwards, but don't let the team know that the client know that you were afraid.
Right. No, I've had moments where, people don't realize, if you're not a paranormal investigator and you're just like an enthusiast who just watches, or, whatever it is you want to nickname yourself, but if you're not the person there in the location, you have to understand that when we get called, sometimes it's not just for the paranormal. Sometimes you're like their acting therapist, because they want to just vent everything to you.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times you get called, it's not just for paranormal, it could be for life things, and you're like, holy cow, like, I understand, you have to be open to everything. But when we go to these locations, you're dealing with people who, especially residential cases, where some people, they're at their wits end. They've exhausted every possible avenue to go before they got to you. The last line of defense. You're the last hope,
Mhm.
and hope is a big thing. If once you lose hope, then what else do you have, right? And so they come to you and they're like, hey, look, this is happening. My kids can't sleep. We can't sleep, or my pets are being affected. This is happening. I'm losing sleep. I can't go to work, so I'm losing money. Do I just get up and go? And to me, it's when all that happens, you have to have an understanding that you're there for a reason. You're not always going to have all the answers, and that's just a given. You're gonna have more questions than you have answers,
Mhm.
and you have to be transparent and be honest with these people, because understand that one thing I tell my clients whenever I have a client, I tell them, look, it's not a guarantee that I'm going to experience what you're experiencing. It's not a guarantee that I'm going to find what evidence. When I go to a location, I'm gonna exhaust everything I can, use all my devices. I'm gonna record as long as I can. As long as you allow us to be here, I'm gonna be recording and hopefully capture something and go. And then when we offer cleansings, it's not a guarantee that whatever's here is going to just, oh, okay, bye, I'm out of here. Things just we don't know until we're there.
Mhm.
But when you're in the location, you're gonna there's gonna be a lot of emotions running wild. I've gone to places where I had this one residential case where, and this, like, it broke my heart, man. I mean, Heather, I can't even tell you, like, it broke my heart. I walked into the location, residential. It was a single parent, a woman with her children, and she had one older son who he had a girlfriend who was pregnant. The woman, the lady who were helping, she had the darkest, blackest, like, just bag under her eyes where they weren't getting no sleep. And the children, man, they all had the same black, I guess, under, and they hadn't slept for I don't know how long, and because this thing was tormenting them. And when I see this, and what was sad is that the whole time I'm there, the mother had her head down like this as she was talking, and the kids had their head down like this, where they were just so broken down by whatever they were experiencing. And I'm seeing this, and I'm fighting back my own emotions, because it's like people will never see this. People who watch from their home and they criticize it sometimes. I'm like, you're not there when we're dealing with this severity of things. People not sleeping, people, ready to just pack up and move when they shouldn't have to move. But the best part of it to me, the takeaway is when you are able to find some kind of resolve or some kind of resolution to the problem. And at the very end, when you're together, you're able to discover a light at the end of the tunnel. And I tell my clients, I'm like, listen, right now it may feel like there's no hope and there's no end in sight, that this is going to be a forever thing. I
Mhm.
said, but I tell people, how do you want, like, I want you to imagine right now, how do you want your life to be after this is over? I said, how do you want your life to be once all this is figured out and it's done? How do you want life to be? Kind of like, I'm sorry to use this example, but for those who've seen the Conjuring movie, the first one, the Conjuring movie,
Mhm.
there's a part in the movie where the lady who portrays Lorraine Warren, where she grabs the woman's hand or head or whatever, and the woman's possessed, but she breaks off to a scene where they're at the beach, and it's a memory of them being happy, and she uses that as a way to break her from that spell of being under possession. So when I saw that, I like that so much, because whenever I talk to my clients, I try to paint this picture in their head of what to look forward to, and use that to hold on to. That way, even though there's a storm right now, things are bad right now, but eventually together, I'm going to help you achieve as best I can to get to that point where you can have whatever it is you want life to be afterwards. And
Mhm.
with this family, you know, they were so defeated. I mean, they had a Roman Catholic priest come out, and as he was reading his scriptures and doing a blessing in the house or cleansing, they can all hear children mocking the scriptures, and he ran out the house. I mean, he ran, and so she was like, if he ran out and he's from the church, what am how much how do we figure this out? If he
Yeah.
ran away, who's gonna help us? And so, not to say that we're greater than the church, because I'm not saying that, but
Mhm.
We were there. We found what it was. We figured it out, and then it was done. And when we cleansed the house, and for the first time in that whole process, I saw that woman smile, and her kids ran up to her. And
Mhm.
when it happened, man, I got so like teary eyed, and I had to like stuff it down because they
Mhm.
said, "Mommy, it's finally over, mommy. Like it's finally over." And that right there, I'm like, it wasn't me. It wasn't my team. To me, again, I'm a believer. For those who don't believe in God, that's fine. But I'm like, I didn't do it. It was God. He just connected
Mhm.
us. I said,
Yep.
but to see those moments, to me, that's the greatest takeaway from what we do. I love that. That's what makes me love what I do, because it's all about, to me, in my opinion, I love helping people in that way,
Mhm. Yep. And it's always so hard when you can't help people,
Right. Oh,
because
yeah, man. Yes.
yeah, there's cases where either the spirits don't show themselves to us, so we don't know what they're dealing with, or there's could be psychological or medical causing them to think they have paranormal activity, and
Hmm.
what can we do outside of referring them, telling them to go see their doctor? And we had a client sell her home,
Oh, man.
so but when she moved, she had nothing. So it wasn't attached to her.
Speaking of that, selling a home, I actually, there was a local team. Again, I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a team. I mean, in the field, no matter where you're at, I tell people the paranormal, this is what I compare it to.
Mhm.
It's like it has a small town feel. And there's a lot of people, it's a small town feel, like everyone knows your name. Like
Mhm.
I don't care what part of the world you're in, you're gonna hear all kinds of drama, and in Spanish it's called cheese, man, like gossip. You're always gonna hear everything. I don't care where you're from. You're gonna, oh, did you know that this person? I'm like, I don't care. But the thing is, uh, one of my clients, she told me about that, a local team that I know, and she was like, yeah, they told me that the only way that they'll do a cleansing for me is if I gave them $500. And then I gave them the $500. They did a cleansing, and they told me there was no helping, that we had to move, and we moved, and we became homeless. That When they told me that, man, again, I try not to judge anybody, because that's above my pay grade. But it's like, it irked me, man. It pissed me off so bad, because I'm like, how do you charge them $500 and then tell them you can't help them, and then you tell them to move, and then they become homeless?
Mhm.
That right there, that really, really, really bothered me. And I didn't go to them and say, hey, I didn't go confront them, because that's not my place. But
Mhm.
it's like, dude, like, why did you do that? And then you didn't help them, and then they become homeless. Like, that's ridiculous.
That's sad. And that's why I truly do feel that this field needs to have some type of regulation, at
Right,
least for the people who are helping clients.
right,
There needs to be some type of, I don't know, I don't want to say board or something like that, but just like the government regulates businesses.
right. No, I think that is because, there's so many people out there, and I'm not saying that people can't, they don't have the right to do whatever, but it's like,
Mhm.
you know, it makes the rest of us look bad, and I understand that there's people in this field who they necessarily don't, they don't have to go help anybody, that if
Mhm.
they're just in it for like the history and to
Yeah.
discover new places, that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to sit here and say, I'm here to help you, I'm here to help people, clients who in their home, in their businesses, that this and this and this, then I feel like you have an obligation, like, as far as like, you have to go in there, with be professional as possible, and not just be like, oh yeah, you need to give me this money or do this, and then you turn around and don't help them. And then for those of us who maybe not necessarily operate that way,
Mhm.
it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the paranormal field, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough because I don't know how many times I've been called to help clean up. I don't really want to say clean up a mess, but clean up a mess that another team has caused.
Right.
You
And
know, it's
it's happened with us too. It's happened with us many times, and like, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Heather. Sorry.
no, that's fine.
There was a time where we had a client, and literally, when she reached out to us, she goes, "You're the fifth team I reached out to." I said, "Okay." And so I was talking to her, and she told me that all the teams before, we were the 15 that we reached. She reached out to, and we responded. That everyone before her, that one team was like, "I can't go to you because I have chores I got to do," and then one person said, well, because she has a security camera system, and she was like, I captured things that I don't know if it's paranormal, but it's not normal to us. And when she showed it to the team, and it's crazy, man. it's the same team who did dirty to this client that said you need to move, and they became homeless. That same team told this lady, well, your evidence is just not good enough for us to go and help you. And then other people who came out, they just did such a horrible job, and I was just like, and then I made a post one day. And again, I didn't call anybody out. And the thing is, a lot of these people who she talked to, I had them as friends on Facebook. And I said, I'm making a post. I'm throwing a rock. And if it hits you, then it's time for you to hang up your hat and leave this field. I said, and I kind of went on in this rant about, how dare some people, and I didn't call anyone out, but if you're going to be in this field and you're saying you're going to help people, then actually help them. So I made this long post. And then a lot of these people, it was funny, a lot of these people who were accused of these things came to me, and I didn't mention no names to anybody, and they're like, is that post about me? I said, if the shoe fits, and F you, and you, who do you think you are? Yeah. And I would just ignore the messages. But it's just so crazy, man, that people do this, or they come
Right.
against this way.
Or what blows my mind is we had a case where the families shared photos that the last team had taken during their investigation. And they were told that they had a demon in their home.
Right.
And all the photos had this strange little white streak in it.
Right.
But it was in every photo at different locations, mostly in height.
Right.
And you could, it was zooming in it. So I personally think something's wrong with their camera.
Right.
Because it's the same shape, same thing. And when you zoom in or zoom out, it changes where it is in the photo.
Right.
And when we went to their Facebook page and we're looking at and they were openly putting client photos on Facebook and their home photos and everything. And previous investigations they done had the same little white streak.
Right.
And they were bragging about how they're so good at catching this demonic entity, or the demonic entity follows them everywhere they go. And it was like, I don't want to say they faked it, but it almost looks like all their evidence is faked.
Right.
So
that to me, it baffles me. Like, and like you mentioned about this white streak or whatever, I've when I first started doing, the paranormal stuff in the beginning, not that I guess I never claimed I'm better than anybody else. I'm not. I'm just another person in this field who's trying to, do my best.
mm-hmm.
But, I kind of went on this thing where I would look at people's evidence, and, again, it's whenever you post it out there, it's going to be dissected, it's going to be chopped up, it's going to be whatever. And I see evidence of people like, oh, I caught this spirit on camera, look at the way it moves. And like there was, for instance, there was one video I saw where this person who's recording the footage, it's a video, when they're turning as soon as the person in front of them is taking a flash on their camera. And when the flash goes off, it causes what looks like a green little like circle or a green little orb or whatever kind of, it moves. But the thing is, it moves as in the same direction as the camera. And I'm explaining to them how that is, and that it's not paranormal. And like everybody starts beating me up in the comments, like, who the hell are you? And you just leave them alone. And that's the best piece of evidence I've ever seen. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, and it blows my mind. And the thing that I was doing that for so long, and I said, just stop, man. I was like, even if I'm right or I'm wrong, people are gonna. That's what it comes down to. People are gonna believe what they want to believe. But the sad part is, there's people who are out there who eat it up, and they're like, oh my God, it's the best thing. And like another thing that happened one time, and this one I literally had to like recreate the same thing for this person, because, and this is the part that killed me. There was a paranormal group that I was in, just just one of these random Facebook groups, and there was a woman out of Laredo, Texas, and that's about maybe 2 hours from San Antonio, and she makes a post that she's in her apartment complex and her phone is laying on the counter, face up. She has her night vision camera on from her security camera system, and her phone is emitting all these lights coming from her phone. And people are like, and this one lady, a lot of people, and I don't mean to talk about this, but there was all these people who jumped into in the comments, and they're like, I'm this renowned famous psychic medium, and I'm this sensitive, and I'm this gifted, whatever. And there's an old man there, and trying to communicate with you through the phone, and so people are like, oh, it's a demon, and people were claiming all these things left and right about these titles and gifts, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, there's not one person who's saying Well, before you make these claims, try recreating that same thing. Like how you try to figure out this is something natural. This is occurring. So what I did was I got my phone. I went to my room. I laid down on the table I had in my room. Turn all the lights off. I turned my night vision handy camcorder on, put on a tripod, and I filmed my phone. So what I did was I had somebody else send me some text messages, and what ended up happening was when my phone was face up, it did the same exact effect. And so people don't realize that our phones, they have these IR like I won't say illuminators, but it's IR like when they have these built-in IR kind of like sensors
Hmm.
that when they go off, especially like right now I'm looking at my phone, there's things in your phone that function to recognize if your face is looking at your phone, if you're doing certain things with your phone, and so it will scan your face and stuff or do certain functions, but it causes these things to go off on your phone, and it's almost like a light show, right? So I recreate the same thing happening with my phone, and I sent the video to them, to that same woman. She posted that video in the comments, and not one person spoke up. I said to all these gifted people, what do you have to say about this? And they all just never responded.
Hmm.
And that's the part that eats me up, is that people always jump to the conclusion about, especially demons. Oh, everything is demons, and I'm just like, listen, man, it's not that common. And if it was that, you don't want to be messing with that stuff. You don't, because it's just crazy sometimes.
Right, exactly. And actually, one of the videos that we shared on the Orb Show was, I mean, everything was from news stations that I shared, and one was actual video footage. And I found it interesting. They were filming a Halloween special at a haunted location here in
Right,
Florida, and the cameraman was baffled that in certain locations he kept capturing this little green orb. And one, he was facing the sun and the sun was coming from behind the building. Another one, he
right,
was in a room and sunlight was coming in. But it
right,
just baffled me that this is a cameraman, someone who does this for a living.
right. They should know this stuff.
Right. And they're now sharing his evidence on the news station as, check out this evidence we caught while filming a news clip at such and such location.
That's, we actually had a guest a while back. And again, I'm not gonna say anybody's name because I'm not trying to bash anybody, but we had a guest on the show on our podcast one time. And the thing is, this person, not the it was a man and a woman. The man, he was a part of a really, really like a real iconic, I won't say iconic case, but like a real famous case that went around that turned into a movie.
Mhm.
He was on the show with us, and this person who he had was, I guess, now his girlfriend. And in her home, she started supposedly having experiences with demons and almost the same thing the other person was going through. And I started thinking, hmm. And I found out from another gentleman who was a part of that case, who actually I had on the show as well, and he told me things about this guy that he was full of it, right? So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, and I'm just thinking these things in the background. I'm not saying that out loud, of course. And she's like, Here's a video of the evidence we've collected." And let me tell you something, man. Again, I'm always open to people sharing stuff with me, and I
Mhm.
always be honest with them in a very respectful manner. She shares a video with me, and I play it, and the whole time me and my co-hosts are watching this, we're, it's like, our thought process is like on sync. We're like, and the thing is, and all the videos, like, you see that's the ghost right there. It goes across the room, and it was, how back then, before people knew what they were, when they had these things called rods, where it was
Mhm.
basically the bug flying and
Right.
the wing flapping so fast, and like a rod, but it was just debunked as it being a bug that was just flying or whatever. It was
Mhm.
that kind of stuff flying throughout the house. And I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at the guy, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we're turning this into a movie, and these are the demons that are bothering her." And I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, and I'm trying to think, what are people gonna say when they're watching this? And I'm just like baffled, man. And I respected there's what they thought. I didn't
Mhm.
say, "Hey, this is what I think." I said, "Oh, okay, cool." I said, "Well, thank you for coming to the show," and that was it. But it just blew my mind that they were so convinced that it was this. And I could have
Mhm.
easily been like, you know what, let me rain on your parade and tell you what I think it is. I didn't do that because I'm not one to try to hurt somebody, but it blew my mind that seeing this, and it was clear there was insects or bugs that were flying. I mean, you see the wing pattern, And I'm just like, holy cow! And they took it
Yeah.
to like a film festival, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part because I mean, so much it's all about education. People
Right.
need to know, there's more in this field than just going out and capturing evidence. It's knowing
Mm-hmm.
what can create false evidence,
Mm-hmm.
how to recreate it, and then, determining between what's real and what's not.
Right. Most definitely. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, a lot of the cases that come to us is mostly other teams, saying, here's your evidence. And then when they share their evidence with us, it's like, okay.
Right, right. And so let me ask you, I mean, what do you do in those situations where, like, let's say that would have been you on this show, and
Mm-hmm.
someone's like, "Hey, let me show you this evidence," and you're looking, it's the same thing, like bugs flying. I mean, do you say anything in the moment? Do you kind of just let it go? I mean, do you give into it? I mean, how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I know I've been confronted at conventions where
Mm-hmm.
people will bring their phone to me and check out these videos, captured orbs in my home, and it's like I just smile, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's nice,
Right. You're
type
like,
of
try to be as
thing.
nice as possible. Like, okay.
Because you don't want to upset people, and but it's tough, and it's one of those things where usually what I end up doing is I end up creating some type of video on my own
Right.
that whatever I think is happening in the video, like in that aspect with the rods, I would do a video on rods
Right.
and
Right.
share that kind of as a I don't really want to say submissive, but a passive aggressive method
Right.
of
Right. Like
telling
low
them.
key, like low key, be like, hey, check this out, and hope they get the message.
Right. And and then I don't think I would out them on the
Oh yeah,
show.
no, no, no,
I
no.
think I would definitely message them and tell them, my opinion, say, hey, your video was great, but here's what my opinion is, basically take it or leave it. And then I might even offer an experiment for them to try to recreate it.
Right, right, most definitely. Because
Yeah,
the
because
one
once
thing, I'm sorry,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say because once they recreate it on their own, then they're gonna realize, what it
Right,
actually is.
and and about the recreation, it's so interesting because it's like a lot of times when there's certain people, and I hate I don't want this rest of the show to go this direction, but
Mhm.
um, you know, when people who come to us and say this is the evidence I have, they it's like they're trying to grasp for something, and they take it to us and they're like, well, check this out. And like you said, I'm always gonna be open, receptive to it. I may not agree with what I'm seeing, but I just say, okay, cool, But one time I was on a podcast for UFO stuff, and the guy who was the host, he was like, yeah, Mike's a paranormal investigator. And this guy in the comments, it was on YouTube when this was happening. We were live on YouTube, and he was like, oh, he goes, if you're a paranormal investigator, you're gonna like this. He submits a video to the host. It says, have Mike watch it live and give his personal opinion on the matter. And right away I said before I watch this clip, I was being honest, and honestly, sometimes honesty, even though at least they can't call you a liar, but honesty is not always taken the right way. People get real bad in shape. And right away I go, before I see this clip, I'm just gonna be honest. I go, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you what I believe?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, no, just tell me what you believe. I said, okay, roll the footage. And they roll it. And it was a video, no lie. It was a video of somebody who had the camera super close to their fireplace. And the fire's kind of going like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, tell me what you see. And I said, I see a fireplace with wood burning. And he's like, no, no, no. Look closer and tell me what you see. I literally go like this to the camera, see, it looks like I'm looking closer, and I say I see some flames, and they're dancing around because it's a fire, and this person starts, I mean, losing their mind. Tell me what you see, like in the comments, like on all bold letters, and I'm like, I see a fire. Like, what do you mean to tell you? And he's like, there's faces in the flames, and I just said, if that's what you see, great. I said, but I just see a fireplace with a fire going.
Mm-hmm.
And like who the hell do you think you are? And he tried hitting me with, I've been in the field for 70 years and whatever, and you know who I am, you know who you're talking to. I said, have a good evening. and that was it. People get crazy. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, people amaze me, and it's one of those things that all goes back to we need to work together.
Right.
And get on the same field, come up with standardized forms of what is evidence and what's not.
Right.
And that's the hardest part in this field.
Yeah. I think another thing too. I think that really. I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much. But one thing I don't like is when I don't know how you feel about this, but I understand that like as a doctor, as a teacher, like everybody has titles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this field, people come up with the most outlandish titles and like and don't get me wrong, I mean, if you're a doctor, cool, whatever, you have you're certified or you have this, that's fine. But it just irks me. Like one time there's a guy locally in Texas and he was like, that he had I mean, like a million titles, and he was like, we're the best paranormal team of all Texas, and and I'm just like, and I'm like, and I'm looking at that, and it's almost like I'm like, what are you trying to prove, man? Like, who cares? If you think you're the best team, great, but don't make it seem like you're the only people here. You know what I mean? And to me, I think that in this field, I mean, people are entitled to their opinion. They can think whatever they want, but it's like, if you truly don't want to work with nobody, fine. That's great. You don't have to. No one said you have to work with anybody. But for those of us who are willing to work together, it's like truly be open to each other's opinions. Truly, try to find some kind of common ground. Build a foundation together, and be willing to have multiple, I guess, perspectives come on board, because you know there's so many people with different opinions, which is fine, but it's like then it becomes like this again, a ego thing. Well, this person, what they believe is greater than what everybody else believes, and I'm just like, dude, it's just too much, man. It's like being a referee and trying to have to, it becomes too much, man. It's crazy sometimes.
Right. And with the titles, it's one of those things where I was interviewed last night on a podcast and they brought it up. And it's weird because before I added the PhD to my name, I was a nobody in the field. But then the minute I add those 3 little letters to my name, next thing you know, I'm getting, TV shows, radio shows, invited on podcasts, invited to conventions. And it was just like all of a sudden, I guess I had instant credibility, it felt like, which was weird. But if you have all these titles and everything on there, I view it no differently than being on a paranormal TV show. Yes, you were on a paranormal TV show, but don't act like it. Just be an everyday person, and that's how I've always viewed it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the thing is, like, one of the experiences I had one time when I first started MPS, a gentleman from another team, he had reached out to me, he wanted to be a part of us, and he was like, my name is Dr. such and such and such and such. And I was like, okay. And the thing is, again, with the titles, and I'm like, and especially the one that really, I guess, and it shouldn't get under my skin, but it just does sometimes, is when, like you said, you go from having no title, or not that you don't have it, but you just don't ever mention it, but you have no title. Like, for example, especially people who claim that they're, these renowned, known psychic mediums, celebrity psychic mediums, like, these people for years, and they never have that. They never go by any of that stuff. And then they make it, let's just say they make it to one episode for like 5 seconds on the clip. And now they became, this renowned, paranormal celebrity psychic medium, and they start charging like $500 to meet them. I'm like, holy cow, that just right there, that has always like, and I'll tell them, look, man, you never ever use that title. Now you don't like it, too bad. And I'm like, that's, you're right. It's you're right, but I just think that right there kind of clogs up the system, if you will, because it's like people, and then the thing is, like you said, people only want to believe what those people say versus the rest of us who are grinding away trying to open this field up more.
Right. And it's funny too, because even when I email people, I don't even say, my name's Doctor or whatever. I just, say it's Heather. And I get emails back and they address me as, Dr. Leigh or Dr. Landon. And I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah, I do have, because it's in my signature at the bottom.
Right.
And, I don't even think of it until someone says it half the time.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing that I must say. I'm going to say this one last thing about this subject is there was a gentleman who I met in the field. And this guy was always in the comments of my shows, of my podcast. and he was always like very, very, very nice gentleman. He'd always be very, complimenting, and very seemed like a really genuine person. And one day he messaged me directly and says, "Hey, I'm a criminal. I'm a forensic. What do you call himself? Forensic or something? Criminal profiler." And he listen, man. He fooled a lot of people, man. He
I
and
think
I
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he. I remember when once he said that, he told me one day, he goes, I'm gonna bring an exclusive story to your podcast. I'm gonna bring an exclusive story to your podcast. He goes, I interviewed not Jeffrey Dahmer, what's the other guy? Not one of the
Not Manson. Oh,
huh? No, not
I know
man.
who you're talking about. Bundy.
Bundy. Yeah, he was like, I interviewed Ted Bundy, and I want to give you the exclusive story to your show. I mean, when you hear something like that, you're like, holy cow. But the thing is, it's like sometimes red flags go off and people are like, Mike, do you think this is legit? Like, do you stop and my team was telling me, Mike, half of them were like, Mike, this is legit, let's bring him on. And the other half was like, Mike, something doesn't seem right. And, I listen to everyone's side, and I'm like, but I go, you know what, let's just bring him on. Let's just, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just hear what he has to say.
Right.
He came on the show, suppose his camera wouldn't work. So he was just his voice and everything. And then after that, he was on all these podcasts. He was every time I saw a post, he was on every podcast you could think of, talking about the same story and how he had unity and my brothers and my sisters. And then one day, somebody did an investigation on him, and it came out that he was none of those things. That he had like identity theft that he would do to people, and it came out that he was full of it. So when that happened, I was like, holy cow, a lot of people were fooled. But what really kind of opened into my mind was, how many other people are like this out there right now, who claim to have all these titles and all these things, but don't truly have proof of it. They're just saying it, and people just want to believe it. And that really just baffled. It blew my mind. And to this day, that guy in there, he just kind of disappeared. But it just made me think, how many other people are like this who have these supposed titles, and it's not really real. There's nothing. It's just people are just taking their word, But anyways, and I won't talk about that no more. But that was just crazy.
I completely. If it's the same person I'm thinking of, I remember he was supposed to be on one of my shows, and he was a no-show, and this was a couple weeks before he was outed.
Right, man. It was insane, man. I just couldn't believe it.
But yeah, he was reaching out to everybody to be on their shows.
Yes, he was. And it's like when I would see him, I was like, I go, why is everyone? And then when it came out, I forgot the name of the team who finally did the research, but they did a whole video live,
Right.
and they put up his information. They showed his mug shots, what he was locked up for, and I was like, holy cow. And one time I even that same guy, he wanted to send me something. I gave him my address, like a dummy. I gave him my address. I'm not sure if you ever used my information. I don't think so. But it's like, I was like, just man, this guy was a master manipulator, and I couldn't believe that. And I said, you know what? Listen, I fell for it. People told me, man, Mike, and I fell for it. I'm accountable for it, whatever. But it's like, it just goes to show that sometimes because people present themselves in a certain way, you just jump on board with it, and it's just crazy.
Yep, exactly. Actually, time flies. I can't believe what time it is already. But I do appreciate you coming back on the show. We'll definitely have to have you on again. It's always,
Sure.
Like I said, time flies when you're on here, and
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
we just get chit chatting back and forth. But before we go, can you let everybody know where they can find you and your team?
Oh yes. You can go to Facebook and you can type in Midnight Paranormal Society, and you'll see like a kind of like a silhouette of downtown San Antonio on the background photo and the profile photo. You can also find us on TikTok at MPS Founder Mike. You see a lot of videos we have on there of evidence we've collected. Let me see. Instagram again, Midnight Paranormal Society. And if you ever have any questions or concerns, or anybody who needs help or just a question answered, you can email us to paranormalmps@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. And everyone, thank you for watching. You can catch the show on WLTK DB Talk Radio on their Facebook, YouTube, or you can go to my podcast channel, which I share on at Dr. Heather Leigh, or at Exploring the Paranormal Show on Facebook. And next week, we will be joined by the Connor sisters. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a great day. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Bye-bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.